pleasure to be here. I'm Sudheera. I lead the Generative AI integration teams at Google Cloud, and prior to this, I also led language and document AI business lines for Google Cloud. I've been at Google for almost 6 years now, and everything to do with AI and generative AI. So I'm here to share some of my insights into journey so far. So quick run through of the agenda among what I was speaking about today. So trying to give you some examples and tidbits around mostly applications of generative AI, what our last decade looked like. So I've been in Google Cloud since the very beginning of Google Cloud AI. So I've seen from scratch, I've done a lot of 0 to 1 work in terms of both starting up various teams around generative AI and AI in general, and also building out platforms around OCR, computer vision, natural language, knowledge graphs, document AI. So I wanted to share a few examples of what the last decade looked like in supervised learning community, and then take you into what this decade is going to look like, especially with all the exciting generative AI features. And going towards the end, I wanted to share some of my own personal insights and not Google's. I do invest on the sites. I wanted to share my own framework that I've built over the course of the last 1 year, especially looking through the net. So what are some of the startups coming out in the generative AI landscape, and share a framework. With that said, I wanted to let us set on what generative AI means. So from my standpoint, any AI solution is capable of generating or creating content, and this content can be any modality, like text or image or a video or a sound that's based on the data that it's trained on. That's generative AI. That's an example. So I gave a prompt to one of the leading LLMs out there. Can you give me a cat playing a guitar in Paris? And this is what it came up with. You can try this with Bard or ChatGPT or Dolly or any of these models. I got this in the wings. These generative AI solutions are typically based on large language models, as you're aware. Now, I took this image and then I wanted to create a video out of it, just to give you an example of what the possibilities are in terms of creating content using generative AI. And all I have to do is click on the hand and kind of the guitar and a few parts of the cat, and they automatically came up with a video animating the cat. So that's a simple, a very simple example of how images are being created, how text is being created, how graphics and videos are being created using generative AI in a matter of seconds. And that's fantastic for content creators out there. Here's another example. Try to recognize the voice in this demo, and this is a fun example that I threw in because you're all hearing this most Does anyone have an idea? Do you want to take a guess? Any hands raised? Ashley? He knows this. He's run this demo. Our Prime Minister, Indian Prime Minister, Narendra voice, singing one of the most popular blockbusters. So we're pretty sure that Mr. Modi did not sing this song. But that's an example of what's possible with generative AI. It is a bit, there are risks associated with this, but then I just wanted to throw it for some show more data. So you have AI that's generating images, AI that's generating videos, sound that never existed before. And it's all happening right in front of our eyes in a matter of minutes. It doesn't take months and months and months of training data and effort. So that's what's causing this, you can call it a hype cycle, or you can call it this revolution is unfolding in front of our eyes. I've been doing AI in the last decade with Amazon and Google, and I can say for the most part in the last decade, most of the AI applications that came out were supervised learning applications. These supervised learning applications, what I mean by that is you get training data in place, like you train ML models, irrespective of the modality, whether it's text models or image models, you get all the training data, and it usually used to take at least 3 years to deploy a large-scale AI model into production when they did kind of month of cleaning of data, getting 3 months of training, getting 3 months to deploy a model and getting it to run in production. So it used to be a time-taking effort, and then you had to deploy a team to do it. Some of the examples, and AI is not new, we've been doing this. I wanted to give you a few examples to show your memories on what AI used to look like in the last decade. Google Translation, all of you are very familiar with Google Translate. You must have used it to search or to translate or various apps. Now, translation is an AI/ML model behind the scenes. Google Translation, so I used to run this. This was one of the first products that I ran when I came into this valley. So you translate text from one language to another, you translate across thousands of languages, from Afrikaans to Zulu, to various Indian languages, you name it. Now, this is a very powerful machine learning model that has been trained on vast amounts of data across all the languages in the world. It's primarily a supervised learning model. And once, I think in 2017 or so, we came out with AutoML translation, a layer on top of this that enables any citizen data scientist to take their own data and customize the translation knowledge. So imagine a software provider trying to use Google Translate, and here comes a manual that says, driver is not working. So Google Translate needs to understand that it is a device driver in the context of software that's not working, and not necessarily the taxi driver that's on phone hour or a golf club driver that's not working. So cloud translation and AutoML translation, this was an AI application that has existed for almost a decade, which was not really, behind the scenes it's called ML models running behind the cloud. Another example, and this is an example that's still very, very, very relevant today, and it's an unsolved problem, where 80% of enterprise data is still unstructured. Now, when I say unstructured, think about any image, PDFs, all of the customer feedback that is coming into your firms. There's no predefined format or model, or it's very nascent tools that are available to understand this data. Anything that's not a Google Sheet or like a PowerPoint, and it's not in a database, all of that data is just lying around in your emails, in PowerPoint slides. So that's kind of unstructured data that's human generated and sometimes machine generated, but there are no specific tools to solve for it. So that's where tools like natural language, the natural language is the food generated content. You can extract entities from this language. You can analyze the sentiment of your customer to use that. So these are all the AI models that have existed. They're all supervised machine learning models that used to exist in the past. You could analyze and classify the response of content that's coming in. Now, supervised learning used to tackle these kind of problems. So when businesses are sitting on various documents, these documents are just going to expand over time. Another example is document AI for Google that turns the unstructured content into structured data. You can give the driver's license, and instead of human looking at it and tell you, oh, this is the driver's license that belongs to X, Y, and Z, we're going to have a bit of AI data. And I'll give you an example. During the COVID, and one of my teams helped deploy a COVID parser, a COVID AI model to state of Hawaii. Everybody was looking to get out and travel, and Hawaii was one of the first states to open up their travel. But we could not employ enough people to process the airline kind of applications of people wanting to come into Hawaii. We want to make sure that they are vaccinated. We want to make sure that it is safe for people to come into the state. So Hawaii's Safe Travels program that enabled people to safely travel during COVID was enabled by the AI reading through COVID, the vaccine cards, and making sure that the vaccinations are in place before they come into essay. So it's an example of an AI application that has helped humans at the task before the way generative AI industry. Now, these treatment models used to take at least a few months to build and run. What's causing the revolution that we're seeing today? Prompting. In this decade, prompt-based AI, I gave you an example of the Modi audio and the cat prompt that we saw earlier. It just took me a minute to give that prompt to file the image with LLMs. And within minutes and hours, I can specify the prompt, and within hours and days, we're able to deploy a large-scale machine learning model and run it in production, and it runs seamlessly. So that's the opportunity that we have on our hands now. As investors, as builders, as entrepreneurs, this is a fantastic time to start innovating. Here's an example of a prompt that I gave to Bart. A little bit biased here. It was ChatGPT. It was ChatGPT. There's an equally good poem that came out. So this is a poem about time by Taylor Swift, apparently. Silicon Valley's vibrant core where innovation takes its flight, the rise of immense entrepreneurs with dreams and and surprises was really good. And you could imagine these applications such as this within copywriting, writing essays, writing various kinds of roles has become much easier. Writing PRVs as product managers, writing some of the examples that someone pointed out. And in data center space, just coming out with resumes, coming up with detailed text that is structured. There's a lot of applications. Now, this is one of the latest examples. We have Microsoft Copilot. Generative AI, this is one of the latest products that I'm working on and incubating various new AI tech that can feed into Generative AI. So as part of my day job, I look at this product every day. How do we train the software developers complete code, to review code? How do we supercharge developers over the course of the entire product life cycle, right from looking at a complex system of code, understanding what that code is. Maybe the code has been written 20 years ago. AI can now help you understand what that code report is. It can help you create boilerplate to write up a new service. It can help you understand various services, understand and integrate into your IDE. And as I'm showing you an example here, this is an IDE where code is being written for the developer, and all the developer needs to do is tweak and make sure that things are working fine, and that various other plugins that are available, whether you are an SRE or a software engineer. Now, code has started in the last decade. We would think that AI would take away work from back office operations, some of the more mundane tasks, which are the most creative tasks in the world. Drawing and painting and art and image generation, video generation, coding, software development was considered a very high cognitive load task that was really transformed using AI. Now let's discuss the potential of generative AI. So I've kind of tried to bucket it into those two categories. There may be a lot more applications, but that's still some of the applications of generative AI potential. So enhancing creative processes. So we talked about machine learning in movie making, in art generation. So that was one example of enhancing creative processes. Generating realistic content. Now, this realism can come in the form of unlike maybe that we saw earlier. Realistic content can be the audio that we heard. It looked very, seemed almost real, that the artist created that song. We could also kind of look at various content that has been created in the form of text. This kind of realism in content can pose certain risks as well in terms of authenticity. For instance, you have schools that examine the use of ChatGPT. How do you ensure that students are earning right? So there are various tools that are going to come up in terms of kind of figuring out the authenticity of who's generating that content. There might be implications in media, art, for instance, data sort can come in and then say that, hey, this is a song that I haven't written, but a lot of my content is used in order to create that poem or song. Right? So there is some amount of concern there in terms of the realism of content and authenticity, but then that's a great potential for generative AI as well in terms of content generation. There's just a lot of possibilities. Improving decision making. Now here's an area where supervised learning has tried to play it for a long time. A lot of cognitive load goes into figuring out what's the best decision that can be made. We as Google Cloud, we try to sell to a lot of line of business owners across healthcare, manufacturing, retail, supply chains, a lot of almost name every industry, financial services. We're mostly trying to make the job of line of business owners easier. We're trying to sell to CEOs. We're trying to make a way to say that their operational costs are going to reduce by using AI, or they're going to get a differentiation in the market by using AI. An example is, let's say, a financial services company comes to the cloud. We're talking to their CEO and CEOs and then saying that, hey, using one of our AI, and you can cut the loan servicing time by 50%, or you could cut the loan processing time from 45 days to 35 days. So that's a pitch to the CEOs that we're improving the decision-making process of how to give out the loans, how to process scores of documents that are coming their way in your kind of analyzing case stubs, panel states, and so on and so forth. So that's an example of improved decision-making and how AI fits into that use case. And we're already doing that with supervised learning, and then it's just going to explore is a forward generative tagging. And finally, personalizing user experiences. Now, if you look at chat applications and various generative AI use cases, it's getting very, very personal. Your recommendations are getting even more personal, and consumers are now getting more and more used, especially in the lot of B2C applications. You're getting more and more used to the content that knows who you are, that understands what your likes and dislikes are, what you are connected to, and it responds in a way that is very, very contextual. That contextual experiences are made possible by using AI, and that presents a world of opportunity to advertisers, to content creators, to communication apps. Various apps that are out there are still very, very contextual. Even within Duet, we're looking at using retrieval augmented learning and contextualization to make the developer experience also very robust. So we discussed a few generative AI applications. So currently, we are seeing applications in content creation, drug discovery, personalized AI assistance, automating various repetitive tasks, team collaboration. So you see a lot of applications within the Teams app, within Zoom, direct Google, a lot of collaboration, and we have, as you can see, that every day they're improving a lot of features and making it more and more personal. The data entry and reporting tasks, I've shared an example of document AI. Within document AI is the what used to be a lot of manual data entry, a human being looking at documents and entering into a database or a spreadsheet, that is now all being done with AI, and it's happening today. Testing and bug fixing, I gave you an example of Duet AI. So similar products exist across all the cloud providers. So that's code generation, refactoring, documentation generation. So these are all generative AI applications that are currently done, and they're all being improved upon. It's just going to come in and they're better with time. In the future, we see that there's a lot of potential to revolutionize industries like entertainment, manufacturing, and think about script writing in movies, about how to, within manufacturing, understand a lot of effects within supply chains. So there's plenty of possibilities that are still yet to be explored using generative AI. So in a nutshell, here's how we could potentially look at the AI landscape. So there is the hardware layer, Now, within the hardware layer, there are very few players. This is a capital-intensive layer, and we can see startups. There's only a few startups that are in this. Most of them are heavyweights like Intel, AMD, and Vivo. They've been around for quite some time. So the rest of the one on there. A few startups that have been on the shape level of the GIs or the large systems. And then the next layer is the infra, the foundation model layer in dev tools, and that's the layer where we have all of the major cloud providers that are across the entire stack. But primarily where they have the advantage is in the infra and foundation levels here. So I believe that there will be a lot of consolidation in this layers. The foundation models are getting better every 6 months. So you see OpenAI coming up with their own models. They have Google, Anthropic, have AWS. There's so much of innovation happening in this layer, but then it is sometimes cost prohibitive the startups can play in this layer, but then in the dev tools, we see a lot of startups coming up. Now, the applications layer is the biggest in this one, and that's where there's an explosion of startups. As investors, that could be an interesting area. As entrepreneurs, that would be an interesting area to system. Building on top of it on this platform is exploring one papers. The way I look at it from an investing standpoint, if you look at the founding team, look at the background of the founding team, or look at industry aspects, where some of the big cloud providers will not play in is going deep into one specific industry use case or a long tail use case where they may not have the data, and the startup may have more of an edge there in kind of deal making. And that's kind of the layer where if you have a strong founding team and if you have access to some data or industry experience or knowledge on a specific workflow, that is a very huge advantage when it comes to a startup. And we've seen when startups partner with Google Cloud, we've seen some startups succeed and some startups don't succeed so much. And most of the time it boils down to how well they understand their customers' workflow. That's speaking mostly in media. How well they understand the customer's workflow. Are they solving a real business problem and adding value to their customers? I think that's the key for the application builder in the startup stage in there. Finally, this is the last slide, and I want to end with this framework, and I'd love to get your feedback on this. So this is one way to look at the GenAI landscape as investors. We will go at it quadrant by quadrant. So the x-axis is the cognitive load. By cognitive load, I mean how much of a decision making, how high the decision that needs to be made in performing these tasks. Is it a high cognitive load or a low cognitive load? On the y-axis, we're looking at high stakes versus low stakes. And by high stakes, I mean there are lives at risk, or there's large sums of money, large money and capital at risk. Now, let's look at quadrant 2, and that's where I would like to, let's look at quadrant 1 and go to that. Quadrant 1, which is high stakes, but then there's a low amount of cognitive load. That's where supervised learning is played around a lot of frictional AI applications, a lot of BPOs, supercharged BPOs. What we've done in the past, and I'll give you an example of a document AI application in this practice 7 into back office workflows. Content moderation APIs that I worked on with the natural language APIs and try to work with teams to moderate content. Now, if you look at the decision that needs to be done, it's mostly, is this a cat image or is this not a cat image? Is this a bad image or this is something that can go on social media or not? So the cognitive load is pretty low, and there's a large volume that needs to be dealt with. So most of it is automated. 80% of it is automated using AI, then you can put in a human in the loop. And that's where we will be able to work with contact centers, we've been able to work with a lot of companies on automating back office tasks. Now, going into the generative AI space, if you look at quadrant 2, social media content that you've seen, the Genza app, photo editing, art. So this is one wave of innovation that's happening. I've seen there's a lot of B2C applications in flags that can come up in this quadrant. So from an investor standpoint, I'd be slightly wary of investing in it because there might be a viral fad in there, and then you probably quickly see a dip right after that fad wears out. It's cool for a while, and then after that, you've seen that with the Lenza revenue that crafts on is really good to it. Going into quadrant 3, I think these quadrant 3 and quadrant 4, I think this is where the highest opportunity is for investment. So within quadrant 3, you see that there's a high cognitive load. That it is difficult to create some kind of content, mainly when movie making, some educational content. It is difficult to come up with kind of task assistant with toolings. So there are some business productivity tools. So within quadrant 3, look for applications that have a high cognitive load, but that the stakes are low. There aren't lights at risk. AI can make a few mistakes. So in that scenario, what would usually happen? You can automate most of the process, but if AI gets it wrong, it's fine. You can live with it. So this is an area with gaming, for instance, right? So it's not a big issue if AI gets something wrong within a gaming scenario. So that's one place, one area where you kind of categorize your investment opportunity and see if it's in here, it's probably a good idea to invest. And finally, quadrant 4, and this is where bigger companies can afford to play this. One of the key parts of what I call high cognitive load, high stakes, it takes a lot of time. For instance, drug discovery, personal gene therapy, who is working on and investing in this, the data is hard to come by in some cases. Search, for instance. So there are some of these scenarios where there's high risk and high reward. That's an interesting area to play in investing, but that's one place where you would want to essentially position your application as pilot, or you'd see kind of URIT is one example. So as the risk increases, the rewards and the returns will be pretty high. Like you might see fewer startups playing in that zone. So that's it in terms of a framework. This is one of the ways to look at the landscape, one of the ways to slice and dice what's happening and trying to make sense of the generative AI landscape out here. With that, I'd like to end my talk, and I have time to take as